Few free agency moves in league history shocked the world like Durant's decision to join the Warriors back in 2016. The most comparable move to that was LeBron James going to South Beach and forming the Big Three with Chris Bosh and D Wade back in 2010. At the time, Durant received a ton of hate for this move, not just because he joined a 73-win Warriors team, but because he joined a 73-win team that he choked a 3-1 lead against in the Western Conference Finals just a month before joining them. In fact, Durant admitted that he initially regretted his decision to go to Golden State because of the backlash that he faced online. But despite the hate, the Warriors would go on to win 2 back-to-back championships, and Durant would take home 2 Finals MVPs. But the hate from the fans clearly still bothered Durant, even though he was winning titles, because not only was he arguing with them with his burner accounts, but he would eventually leave the Warriors for the Nets in 2019. And let's keep it 100. The move to go to the Nets was definitely a legacy move. You don't leave Steph Curry for the flaky Kyrie Irving for on-the-court basketball reasons. Durant went to the Nets so that way he could form his own team and prove that he didn't need to join a super team to win a championship. But unfortunately, that decision hasn't worked out because in 3 years, the Nets have won just 1 playoff series, with them getting swept in the first round last season. And with the Warriors winning the championship last season as well, many are calling into question whether the Golden State Warriors needed Durant to win those back-to-back championships in the first place. On the surface, it's easy to say, of course the Warriors didn't need KD. They not only won the championship in 2015 before he joined them, but they just won the championship after he left. But we also can't forget that Durant was the Finals MVP of both of those 2017 and 2018 Warriors teams. He went absolutely berserk in the finals, he cooked LeBron, and he was especially great in 2017 where he averaged 35 points per game in that finals series. And Draymond recently stated that the Warriors needed Durant to beat the Cavaliers in both finals series. So whether the Warriors actually needed Durant opens up a can of worms. The problem with the claim that the Warriors didn't need Durant to win the 2017 and 2018 championship is that it will require us to analyze a reality that doesn't exist. In an alternate reality, what happens if Durant doesn't actually sign with the Warriors in 2016? Do they still go on to win back-to-back championships? Again, this is hard to tell because this reality never actually happened, and Durant's decision to not go to the Warriors would likely cause a chain reaction of events that would change the course of NBA history, and this is what's known as the butterfly effect. But for our purposes, let's pretend that Durant doesn't sign with Golden State in 2016. If Durant doesn't sign with Golden State back then, he probably re-signs with OKC. It was reported before the signing that Durant was expected to re-sign with the Thunder, and he even told Russell Westbrook shortly before he signed with Golden State that he was planning to re-sign with OKC. So let's say KD re-signs with the Thunder. What does the Warriors roster look like if KD never signs with them? Well, for starters, the Warriors probably keep Harrison Barnes. Now, I know Harrison Barnes absolutely sold in the 2016 finals because he was laying so many bricks, but Barnes was still a pretty big contributor to that team. He was a very good perimeter defender, a 12 points per game scorer, and a good outside shooter. Bringing Harrison Barnes back to that Warriors team is a pretty big deal. Another player that the Warriors would have probably kept if they didn't sign Kevin Durant is Andrew Bogut. The Warriors would have to dump Andrew Bogut on the Dallas Mavericks in order to create the cap space for Kevin Durant, but Andrew Bogut was a pretty big contributor to their team at the time. Bogut was one of the best defensive big men in the league. Back in 2015, he was all defensive second team, and he was also the block leader in 2011. People forget that Andrew Bogut's injury in the 2016 finals was a huge reason why the Cavaliers were able to win the championship. On the Warriors, Andrew Bogut was not only a great defender, but also a pretty good finisher and a pretty good passer out of the post. Essentially, if the Warriors don't sign Kevin Durant in 2016, they keep a 73-win team intact. A 73-win team that lost the 2016 finals by the absolute slimmest of margins. I think it's pretty safe to say that if the Warriors don't sign Durant, they still go into the next season as one of the top contenders in the league. But would the Warriors have returned to the finals with their 73-win core intact? I think they would, but I think they would have had a much tougher route than the KD Warriors that breezed their way through the 2017 finals. They would have had to face a damn good Spurs team with Kawhi Leonard and LaMarcus Aldridge and a team that had won 61 games. And they would have also had to face an OKC team with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook, the same OKC team that had put them in a 1-3 hole just a year prior. But thanks to their talent and thanks to their deep bench, I still think that the Warriors would have gotten past those teams and have made it to the 2017 finals. Next, the Warriors would have faced the LeBron and Kyrie-led Cavaliers in the finals. Now, it's understandable why some would say that the Warriors needed Durant to beat that 2017 Cavs team, but people often miss context. The 2017 Cavs was a much worse version than the 2016 Cavs that won the championship. Yes, the core was still intact, but that 2017 Cavaliers team decided to stop playing defense. That season, the Cavaliers only ranked 22nd in defensive efficiency, far off from their 10th overall defensive ranking the year before. The Cavaliers still managed to get to the finals, but that was in an Eastern Conference that was still pretty weak at the time. Even without Durant, I think that the Warriors with Andrew Bogut and Harrison Barnes instead would still go on to defeat the 2017 Cavaliers in the finals and win the championship. But what about the 2018 Cavaliers? As bad as the 2017 Cavs were defensively, the 2018 Cavs were even worse. At this point, Kyrie Irving wasn't on the team anymore because he demanded a trade, and the Cavaliers got themselves finessed by Danny Ainge and the Boston Celtics because they traded an all-star point guard for a washed version of Isaiah Thomas. And Isaiah Thomas didn't even last on the team that long because they traded him at the deadline for the Lakers. That Cavs team was pretty bad, and the fact that LeBron got them to the finals, even in a weak Eastern Conference, really speaks to his greatness. LeBron James went in absolute Super Saiyan mode in that playoffs, but despite that, they still got swept by the KD Warriors. Not only did LeBron had to overcome the super team KD Warriors, but he also had to overcome the foolery of his teammates.
Hill misses, rebound goes to the Cavs, J.R. Smith brings it back out, throws it to Hill, Hill shot blocked.
In this alternate reality when the Warriors don't sign Kevin Durant, it's not much of a hot take to say they would easily defeat this underwhelming 2018 Cavaliers team. But anyone that watched basketball back then knows that the real finals wasn't in the NBA finals, it was in the Western Conference finals when the Warriors would face the Rockets. That 2018 Houston Rockets team, led by James Harden and Chris Paul, was easily the toughest competition that the KD Warriors had to face. They actually won more games than the Warriors that season, winning 65 games and finished with the best record in the NBA. And they would take the KD Warriors to 7 games. Now, the KD Warriors did defeat that Rockets team, but they were also very fortunate that Chris Paul suffered a season-ending injury after they took a 3-2 lead. Hell, it could be argued that that Rockets team defeats the KD Warriors if Chris Paul never gets hurt. That 2018 Rockets team had James Harden, who in his prime was an offensive juggernaut, and Chris Paul, even though he was still up there in the years, was still a top 5 point guard in the NBA. That Rockets team matched up really well with the Warriors because they also had a lot of long switchy defenders and guys like Trevor Ariza and PJ Tucker. I think there's a very good chance that in this alternate reality, if the Warriors don't sign Kevin Durant, that they lose to that 2018 Rockets team. So that brings us to the main question of the video. Did the Warriors need Kevin Durant to win back-to-back championships? I think the Warriors probably still defeat the 2017 Cavaliers if they don't sign Durant, but then I also think that they probably would lose to that 2018 Rockets team. This just goes to show that life isn't always black or white. It's not true that the Warriors didn't need Durant to win those back-to-back championships in 2017 and 2018. But it's also not true that the Warriors needed Durant to win another championship after 2016, at least in my opinion. This just goes to show that there's a lot of gray area when it comes to this topic. But now I want to hear from you guys. Did the Warriors need Kevin Durant to win back-to-back titles? Tell me in the comments. It's the NBA offseason and news is starting to run dry at this point, but I'm still working hard to give you guys a new video every day. So all I ask in return is that you drop a like on the video and hit that subscribe button. Now click this video to see how the Warriors young players look scary in Summer League.